This is Dominic Huff from We the People, the podcast here on Fusion Radio and your local syndicated partners. We are getting a little late start this morning, but nevertheless, we are here on this Easter weekend, 2021. It is Saturday, April 3rd. And we are going to go over a couple of things. And it has been a very interesting week. We've had so much going on with here in Georgia with the Georgia General Assembly. They have officially sine die. And sine die means pretty much they're over what the 40 days and 40 nights have come and gone. And more than likely, I hate to say it, they've got nothing done for the most part, which if anybody who's been paying attention down here, you're definitely used to that happening. They get caught up on their partisan bills. They get caught up in trying to wave the flag, be mammies for the Democratic parties, be water carriers for the Republican Party, do all this stuff instead of get things done for you. They have all sorts of excuses when you want a bill done. Oh, it can't never pass. Oh, we can't get it done. But when they people want it, or their handlers, aka the bribers, want it, they have no problem in getting stuff done. And you, as the employers of these people, that includes me too, because I vote for these folks, we need to start holding folks accountable. Now, what's going to start happening? We're going to have all these town hall meetings. Everybody's going to convince us why they didn't get nothing done. Oh, it's the Republicans' fault. Oh, it's the Democrats' fault. Oh, it ain't my fault. I've tried so hard to get things done for you, and nobody won't listen to me. So what they'll do to hide the fact they've done absolutely nothing, they'll do a whole bunch of guest speakers that have nothing to do with anything at the meeting. They'll have kids singing. They'll serve you hamburgers. They'll bring the pastor, they bring all these nonprofits. They have so much filibustering going on. So much filibustering going on to the point you forget you're at their meeting. But see, they hate people like me because I asked them, well, what did you get done? Tell me about the bills that you drafted. Tell me about the bills that you sponsored. Tell me about the stuff that you lobbied for, that you carried, some things that you see that's going on, that you're engaged with the district. And all of a sudden, they start hemming and hawing. Well, you know, I talked to the mayors and I talked to the citizens and we're just trying to get things done. They're thinking I'm doing a good job. Well, who is they? Who is they that think you're doing a good job? And I don't think you're doing a good job. A lot of citizens don't think you're doing a good job. Well, the voter turnout people are just checking out because you're not getting nothing done. Only in government you can be rewarded for being a complete failure. That only happens in government. If business operated like government, nothing will ever get done. Could you imagine your favorite restaurant operating like a government department? We'll be sitting there for days waiting for food. We'll have nobody coming to work, nobody back there cooking. The restaurant is dirty. Everybody's a union employee. Everybody is a supervisor. Everybody's making all this money, and you're just there bothering them, expecting them to do their jobs. So this is why I call this stuff out every end of the session, even with these city councils, even with these county commissions, where nothing has gotten done. Nothing. Now, you're going to get tired of getting nothing. Now, imagine, for those of you all who are in romantic relationships, I'm not going to ask the type of relationship you're in because that's your business. I don't care if you're a side piece, if you are same-gender loving, if you're interracial, if you're dating 5 people at one time. Your business, I'm not here to judge. But just take your situation, and I want you to think about something. If nothing was happening to your benefit in that relationship, would you continue? Would you continue in that relationship? And be absolutely honest. Don't bullshit me. Don't say, oh, well, you know, love takes time and love is hard. I get all that. But let's say you and your boyfriend, you and your girlfriend, wherever your tastes are, let's say you're in this relationship. Y'all been in it for a while. You know, you're doing your thing. They're doing their thing. If you're getting nothing out of this relationship, would you continue? I know I would. It comes to a point with anything. I don't care if it's an investment. I don't care if it's an elected official. I don't care if it's a project. I don't care, whatever. There has to be an ROI. There has to be an ROI. And an ROI is a return on investment. You must get a return on investment in all things that you do. And for the sake of this show, We're talking about your government and your elected officials. Because there is a such thing called voting with your feet. Because after a while, you have to make a decision. If I live in an area that I feel the government is just terrible, especially we're talking about local government for this example, I want to make a decision. Is it worth my while to continue to stay in this jurisdiction, or do I need to move to better areas where I feel I can get better services? Now, for those of you all who are homeowners, or those of you all who are aspiring homeowners, you may be currently looking for a home, this part is for you. Number one, well, I know I'm looking for a home. Now, I'm currently looking for a house. I'm looking for. I'm the type of person. I want to go to a local meeting of the local elected body to see how they conduct themselves, and I want to find out where that property is, and I'm interested in who is the elected official, and I'm going to do some due diligence on that person. I'm going to research them, see what I can find on the internet, look at the city's website or the county's website to see exactly what have they done. I want to drive around the area. I want to see, okay, is this area on the up and up? Is it clean? Is it safe? I look at the crime stats. You know, I'm a nerd when it comes to all this stuff. And if it's in my foundless area, I'm going to try to reach out to that person. I'm thinking about buying a home here. I'm going to put in an offer, and I want to meet you because I may be your future constituent. I have some questions about this jurisdiction, if you don't mind me asking. And I want you to start doing this too, because you want to make sure that this home, for many of you, is probably the biggest and most valuable thing you will ever buy in your life. And it's bigger than a car, people. This is bigger than the cars. The cars appreciate. You know, I know a lot of you all say, I got my 2020, I got my 2021, I got my 2019, leather seats, the heat, and we ride good, got good tires and air conditioning. I got that thump in the car. But you know, a car depreciates. It loses $1,000 as soon as you sign the paperwork and drive it off the lot when it says it is yours, and you must pay the financial department the money they gave you up front to get that vehicle. That is now a used car. Now, a house, on the other hand, can increase in value based off various factors in the area, such as the economic development, such as the schools, such as the quality of life, such as where the house is located at. So these are things that you want to factor into, and I want to make sure that I'm buying in an area that's on the up and up, that's on the upcoming. I don't really want to buy in an area that's totally matured yet, because I want to grow my equity in my property, because you're always going to have equity in your property just in case you have to borrow against it, because that means the house is worth more than what you're paying for it. So this is a little house buying 101. Now, I share all of that because you need to make sure that you have good elected officials in that area, and you become an active citizen when you move to that area. I would ask that person, how do we have town hall meetings? When do we have meetings? How do you engage the public? Now, if I can't get no response from this sack of shit, then I'll say, okay, I'm going to really think long and hard about it, or I may have to find somebody to run against you, or I may have to run against you, because I'm just not going to have non-responsive leadership. Because a lot of these elected officials get away with being non-responsive just because they don't like you, just because they feel they got the answer to you, just because they feel, who are you, and yada, yada, yada. That's not how we operate. So this is why I want you to go to that. This is the Georgia residents here. Now, you can do this if you're not in Georgia. If your General Assembly or the body of assemblymen, or whatever they call it in your state, or it's mostly the legislature. That's what most people, we all call it the legislature, but everybody calls it different names. So your state legislator, if they have ended for the year, or they're still in session, find out who your elected official is. Now, if you go to your local Secretary of State's website, they have these little My Voter ID or My Voter portal, and you can find out where exactly those districts that you live in. I get it. You probably don't know what district it is. So confused. We got so many elected officials that touch your ear from the local level to the federal level. So I get it. You probably can't name every person that represents you, because you have a lot of them, including the judges and all that. So once you figure out where you live at and you look at that, then go pull up their record. See, I love pulling up the record. See, the record's going to speak louder than your little presentation and your little bloviating with me. I want to look at what bills have you written, what legislative actions have you taken, what initiatives are you proposing, and for some people, it is a blank white sheet of paper. They have got nothing done. And I don't care if you did something 20 years ago, as Ford says all the time, they may not have this commercial no more, but I'm old school. Ford used to have the commercial, what have you done for me lately? So I want to know, what have you done for me lately? I don't care what you did for me 20 years ago. 20 years has come to pass. Where are we at today? Where are we at? And these are the questions as citizens that you must start asking these elected officials. Email them, call them, and document when you're doing this, because when you have to follow up because they failed to do so, we can now have a case against them and say, look, we sent you 4 emails, 5 phone calls, 10 faxes, or some of you all may want to mail them a letter to mail, or I went to your office hours of the time you said you're available, you wasn't in there. This needs to be documented, because they're going to swear this stuff never happened and nobody reached out to them. And keep your receipts. Keep proof that you did these things, because they're going to allow when you say you didn't do shit. They've done this to me, so learn from me. Give me some game. So that way, when they start talking about all this engagement, how transparent, how accessible they are, you can call bullshit on it. You can. Because now we'll go back to those emails that you sent. We'll look at those phone logs that you have and say, we reached out to you. We gave you ample time to follow up with us. We called back in between and we sent another email, and we never heard back from you. Never have heard back. So now they're going to have to explain, especially now that you have the receipts right there in front of their face, of why they didn't do it. And they're going to lie. Of course they are. You think they're going to tell the truth of what happened? They're going to blame everybody else, blame the staff, they're going to blame the phone company, they're going to blame you, they're going to blame Donald Trump, they're going to blame whoever to say why they did not call you back. But you as a citizen, and it's also helped that you get a group. You got to have a group of 50 people or 100 people, but get you some like-minded people in your neighborhood, and you all start really getting together to hold these people accountable. I don't care if you live in an unincorporated area, a rural area, in-town area, a suburban area. This is your neighborhood because you are a taxpayer. I don't care if you are renting a room or a couch, or you're buying a house or a shack or a trailer park. You are paying taxes, and you have a voice, and you vote. So that means you matter. If nobody's ever told you that, then I have. Well, I will, and I'm doing it, because I want you to get this message through your head so you can start taking charge and stop letting things happen to you. Now, to give a shout out to the mayor of East Point, Georgia, Deanna Holiday Ingram, she had this phrase, and it may not be her phrase, but I heard her say it when I was covering one of her meetings with my paper. And she had mentioned the time is out for making decisions about us, without us, for us. You're making a decision about me, for me, but I'm not at the table. Now, another pioneer said what we have to start doing, if you won't give me a seat at the table, see, me, I don't want to sit at your table. I'm not going to beg you for a seat at the table. I don't need your table. I don't want to sit near you all, because see, me, I will get my own table. If you're looking at me right now on the camera, you will see that I have a table, all these empty chairs here. Now, I will build my table, figure out who I want to sit here. I will set the rules, I will set the tone, and I will do it how I want to do it. That's what you have to start thinking. Stop waiting for permission. Stop begging these people. Stop acting like that you are subservient to them. I would never call an elected official a leader. I want to tell you why I would never call them a leader. Because they're not my leaders. I lead myself, and you lead you. And then all you all are leading yourselves, and I'm leading me. See, we're all leaders. They are our employees. I would never call them a leader. I don't need a leader. I need an elected official. I don't need a politician. I need an elected official and get the job done. If you cannot get the job done within the scope of your job duty, that's another thing I tripped them up too. Well, I can't do that because that's not in my job description, and you have to talk to so-and-so and all this type of stuff. And I said, well, according to the charter, that every city has one, this is your job. So you're telling me that you're going to disregard this charter that you agreed to uphold when you got sworn in because you really don't want to do your job. And you're upset that somebody like me is pointing this out, and it's kind of like, how dare you? Because, see, if you look at the video screen, it's called read response. I put those 2 words up there on purpose. Because you got people that are up in arms over a piece of legislation. Granted, the shit is 90 pages, and I have the whole 90-page bill right here of that voting law in Georgia. This is that entire bill. I have not read 1 page of it yet, but this is what I'm going to do. That's why I'm not going to talk about this week. Oh, next week, we're going to really have a good time with this thing. 90 pages. And you got people out here all upset upset and ain't read the first paragraph of that shit. Oh, it's bad. Well, tell me what's bad about it and give me a line number, and I wish I could zoom the camera in. See, legislation has line numbers in there. It has these numbers in there that you can say, okay, line 5, line 6. So you can tell me what's so bad about it. Because I'll show it to you. See, you got this bill right here. You can say, look at this. This is the legislation. And I know I'm probably screwing this angle up, but you get the point. But this is why I want you to start thinking about. Start reading the goddamn bills before you're getting upset. Now, I'm not going to take a side on this till I fully read this. But I know how these folks act down here, and what they're doing, they are pushing an agenda. And they know that I know that. That's why they don't talk to me. That's why they don't engage me. That's why they don't want you to listen to this show. But by you listening to this, that lets them know that you're not fooled by their foolishness and their shenanigans, because I'm going to call it out. And they're going to be really upset when I break this legislation down beyond the talking points. Because we're going to read this word by word. I got my bag right here. I got my cup of coffee right there. I know I have no life because only I would do some shit like this on a Saturday, read 90 pages of legislation. But it has to be done. It has to be done, and you should do it too. Now, I'm not saying give up your Saturday or anything. I understand you probably got a life and friends and all that good stuff. But what you need to do is take time out and read this. Not just this, but any legislation. I read studies, I read reports, because see, when you break down those documents and you read, hear me when I say this. When you read, you can really nail their asses dead. Oh, yes. You want to nail a politician? Read them documents and bring some stuff up in that document, and they get upset that you read it. They're not expecting you to read. You know the old racist saying that if you want to hide something from somebody, you put it in the book. You can put it in a book and half these folks won't read it, but see, that doesn't apply to me because I read the book. I don't care how hard that book is or how tough it is for me to read it. I'm going to make sure it gets done because there's stuff in it that I need to know what's going on. Because they taking bits and pieces and all that type of stuff and got upset because they have not read the bill. Now people say, well, Dominic, the baseball game, All-Star Weekend, wherever this baseball weekend is, has pulled out the state, and that is going to hurt the Cobb County economy. Now I can comment on that. Because now we're going to talk business and economics. And you know, around here, we love economics. Number one, I have no problem with whatever a private entity or organization chooses to do with their money. Now, if they don't want to come here, then fine. Get the fuck on going where you got to go. Take that shit with you and don't come back. And you can tell them that I said this, and you can screenshot this show and send it right to the Major League Baseball folks. Because, see, number one, you're not hurting the politicians. You're hurting the citizens. By hurting the citizens, the same people you claim you care about that was relying on that income, that money, those Uber rides that you had Uber drivers looking for, you had restaurants, you had hotels, and that's where all the common folks like me and you are working and relying on those local dollars to come into the economy. But because you're so bad, you so woke, you so this, you're such a big Democrat, you're going to punish us because you're mad with legislators. We didn't write that bill. Won't you go up to them and take it out with them? See, this is no better than folks that get online, especially these male feminists that want to get around here and lecture all men about sexism and being a girl dad and my daughter and my wife and my women and my this and my tampons and my that. Won't you go to those guys that are doing these ads and lecture them? Go to their homes, go to their places of work, go to their churches, go to their neighborhoods, go to their street corners, and you give that lecture to them. They're the ones that need to hear the shit, not us. But see, but you don't have the nuts nor the courage to go to them, so you better come over here to us, feel like you're intellectually masturbating, and then on top of that, then what you want to do is act like you did something. So they can take that baseball shit and go on where they got to go. But guess what? They won't be welcome back. We're going to have to get on our grind as a state, as a region, and for those Cobb County residents that are listening to me this morning, and get more events and show them, fuck you in that baseball game. I'm serious. Now, I know people are upset with me for saying that, but we have to start fighting back. Why are you punishing working class Americans, working class citizens, people, those business owners, those people that was relying on those dollars are up Kemp and those people at the Gold Dome. You take that shit to Brian Kemp's office. But see, you ain't got no nuts and you ready to punish small people. And see, I saw right through that. But I said, I was going to call that out today. If I said nothing else on this radio show today, that was going to be called out. Now, I probably have lost the baseball endorsement, and the baseball people never advertise around here, and that is okay. I mean, but it has to be said. And I'm speaking on behalf of those citizens, because those citizens are outraged, and I told them that would not stand, and that needs to be called out, and I called the shit out for what it was. And that's fine. This is all part of political grandstanding. You want us all to suffer. You want us all to hurt because you're mad at these politicians, and these folks are too scared to do something. They have all the money, all the resources, all the power to do something, but you better get caught up here trying to get you some headlines to show how woke you are and all this type of stuff. I see right through it. They're not fooling me. They're not impressing me. They're not doing anything for me but pissing me off. And that should bother you as much as that's bothering me. How we can fight back? You probably ask us, well, Donald, what can we do? We're small people, and we're this and we're that. We got the power. I will stop watching the baseball games. They want to play games, we'll play it right along with. We won't watch no more baseball. Let's all turn that shit off and turn on something else, and that show them that we in Georgia mean business. We can fight fire with fire. I've done things like that before. Okay, you want to do stuff for me? Okay, we won't do nothing with you at all. We won't even support those that support you. So okay, we can just be fighting all day. Because I tell people, I may not win every fight, but I want to let you know I've been there before. I don't start fights, but I damn sure ain't gonna run for one either. And that's what I want you to start thinking about. Do not get caught up with this hysteria. Read the bill, read the studies, read the report. You all are educated people. I know you are. You got all these fancy degrees and all these alphabets after your last name and everything, so you can't tell me that you're not an educated person. But I want you to start thinking with your head and start asking questions. Start really doing what needs to be done, which is critically think, sit down, shut up, and think. Again, this is 90 pages in this bill that I'm sure half the folks that are upset have not read one page or one paragraph in that thing. They went off what somebody told them to go off of. See, that's what's called being a puppet and being a surrogate and being a sycophant. See, I'm not a puppet, a surrogate, nor a sycophant. I'm an independent thinker, and I'm a critical thinker. I'm a reader, researcher, and investigator. So I want to read that, and we're going to have some fun with that next week. You can guarantee that. Oh, yes. I'm a policy one, so we're going to have lots and lots of fun with that. So it's about 15 to the top of the hour, 15 to the top of the hour. We'll go ahead and take a break. We'll play about maybe... We're going to give y'all about 2 songs. I'm trying to get this show back on track because we're behind. So we'll hear about 2 songs this morning, in this hour. I will come back to a very titsy-witsy segment. Then we're going to go into the next hour, and we're going to really get down to some stuff right here with these millennials and some young people and black men. So I got some great stuff here. You listen to We the People, the podcast. I'm Dominic Huff. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we're back. We the People, the podcast here on Fusion Radio and your local syndicated partners. I am Dominic Huff, and it is about 5 before the top of the hour. 5 before the top of the hour. We're going to ease this on to the next hour. And we just spent the first segment of the show discussing this really about reading the damn bill and being active and engaged citizens. And I want to talk about stuff like this every week on this show because that is important for us as young people to make sure that we have a seat at the table. And we have so many ways that we can engage that people only dreamed of back in the day. One thing I do like about this pandemic, I mean, the pandemic was tragic. We lost over 500,000 people. I think we lost 550,000 people who have lost their lives to this, and my heart goes out to them. But it has really urged in some things that should have been urged into in regards to public participation. More cities now and counties will now let us watch these meetings online, and you can participate in it from your house and stuff. And I do hope some of that will continue going into the future. I know many bodies are trying to get back into place, making people put on the mask and take the temperatures before they go in those meetings. I do understand we got to get back to normal. We can't just continue to have things shut down forever. But I hope that you was able to really start paying attention. And a lot of people did use this time to really learn about what was going on with voting, because there was a lot of questions being asked. There was a lot of things that were going on. And I'm glad to see that we was able to move forward with it. And of course, many people thinking, well, there's too many people engaged, too many people involved. But I think we can't have enough people. The voter turnout still below 50%. Nationwide. Now, it could be higher or lower where you live at or your precinct, but overall voter participation is down. And they always say that young people just do not vote or do not care. So that's why shows like this exist, so we continue to have the conversations that other people would not have. I understand that we're not going to get into the Hollywood gossip. We're not going to get into the clickbait. We're not going to get into the gender war. Look, we're going to talk about civic engagement, and we are going to talk about those issues that intersect when it comes to where we at as young people, because I understand that some of the stuff we have got to start thinking about as we continue to build up. But the one thing I want you to really think about is, where did you see yourself fitting in the grand scheme of things? Where do you see your project? Where do you see your neighborhood? Where do you see your business, your livelihood fitting into the major scheme of what we have going on as a society? Ask yourself that question. Really ask yourself, where do you fit in at? Where do you belong? And a lot of times I tell people, I don't know certain areas because I just feel like I don't belong over there. Because that's why I don't even participate, because when you feel that, I feel like I don't belong, then I know, okay, I'm not going to be heard, I'm not going to be taken seriously, so I got to go ahead and exit stage left. If I exit stage left, that's where I got to go ahead and vote with my feet. Because voting with your feet is, you're going to move with your body, your resources, your dollars, and your skills to an area where you feel that you belong at. A lot of people are not going to continue to stay where they feel they don't belong. So many people really feel like they have to put up with stuff, that deal with bad service, and you don't. Now, would you go to a restaurant that has bad service? Would you go to a business that offers bad product? So why would you put up with that from a government? I know if I went to a restaurant, don't get me wrong, for the sake of argument, I understand that, hey, things are going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen. We're all above mistakes. We're all are entitled to making mistakes. We're all human. We all going to err. We're all flawed. We all have things we need to work on. That's for everybody and every entity. Nobody's perfect. But a continued pattern of failure and incompetence, we have to start asking questions. Think about it. Let's say you went to your favorite restaurant. I won't say your favorite restaurant, because that's why it's your favorite restaurant. You went to a new business opened up by your house, and you wanted to try. You heard they had some great hamburgers or salads or whatever. Because I understand that everybody has to be great gluten-free food, great vegan food, wherever you like to eat. This fill in the gaps. And they kept making mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. How many times did you keep going back to that restaurant? How many times did you keep giving them your business? How many times did you keep making it? You'll probably quit after the second, third try. Some of you are after the first try, you're done. Because they have just and these are not just mistakes that are just, where they couldn't help themselves, but they screwed up the order. After you told them what you wanted, they messed up on there. That's the same thing with the government. How many times are you going to put up with bad government? How many times are you going to put up with elected officials who get absolutely nothing done? And why do you keep putting up with that? You are more than that. And don't let them convince you otherwise that you're not. You're more than that. So what we're going to do, we're about to go ahead. It's top of the hour. It is top of the hour. You are listening to We the People, the podcast, here on Fusion Radio and your local syndicated partners on Saturday, April 3rd, 2021, Easter weekend. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You can just walk on, keep on.
It is 8 after the top of the hour, 8 after the top of the hour. We're here in hour number two. For those of you all who are just now joining us, welcome aboard. It is Saturday, April 3rd, 2021. It is Easter weekend. So for those of you all who are celebrating the festivities, happy Easter to all of you all. For those of you all who are relaxing, for those of you all who are working, getting things done, spending time with your family, thank you for squeezing time out to listen to this show. And for those that will catch this on a rebroadcast or a replay at their self-opportune time, thank you for listening to us during that time as well. Thank you so much. If you would like to get in touch with me for this show, please contact us at office at 10thamendmentmedia.com. That's office at 10thamendmentmedia.com, and 10th is spelled out. That is the parent company. We are in the middle of getting everything set up for this show, so the goal is to get this done by this month. I know next week is my birthday weekend, so we're going to have some fun up in here. We'll see about getting my guys to bring a little cake here, and we'll get some things done. So let's get right back into it about a couple of things. I'm just kind of looking over Twitter right now of these things going on with the Major League Baseball. We'll have a good time really getting into the fallout with that. We'll have a good time really looking this week at reading this bill, because one thing I talked about in the last hour is reading legislation that needs to be read. Because when you read this stuff, then you make up your own opinion. I don't give you agree with me or disagree with me. As long as you're doing it based off your own independent research, I have no choice but to respect that. Just say I do my analysis on my own independent research. You may agree or disagree, but respect the fact that I did take some time to conduct research. If you may feel the sources are wrong, sources are invalid, then we can have a debate where you can provide another source that we can take a look at or a consideration, but don't sit here and just dismiss a source because you disagree with. And that's the part that intellectual dishonesty that I'm really coming against around here. Is I dealt with that a lot back in college. People going around talking about, well, I don't like that source. Well, I don't like you, but at least I'm still hearing what you got to say. So those are the things I want you to think about. Now, I want to hop over to West Virginia. We'll leave Georgia for a minute, because one thing I like to do, being on a national show, I don't like to be a homer. And a homer, you always talk about everything in your backyard. You talk about your backyard, be a local show. But when you're a national show, we have to get all across here and really get down to the things that we're talking about. And we have a piece by David Laub, why young people will not stay in West Virginia. David Laub has always seen himself as a West Virginia lifer. When he received a foundation scholarship from West Virginia University in 2016, he was continually reminded by the people he met that he should stay here to help better the state. He was convinced, her people have financed my education after all, and I owe West Virginia my heart and soul. Over the past few years, I was always one of those students who saw myself settling down in West Virginia and starting a career. I had visions to spend my weekdays saving lives as a doctor in the state's rural interior, or maybe share my love of books as an English teacher in my hometown. My weekends will be spent kayaking on the Cheat River, kayaking the Seneca Rocks, or watching Lindy Point sunset. I was overjoyed though I could give back to the state that had given me everything. You know, when I was pursuing a master's degree from West Virginia University to be an English teacher, I was never motivated by money. I live in a small $450 a month, one-bedroom Morgantown apartment with my two cats. It does not bother me that I will only make $40,000 as a first-year teacher. That's more than I need. I understand that future teaching colleagues aren't all in the same boat. Many of them have families to feed, with more expensive rent than me, and student debt to pay off. When West Virginia teachers went on strike for better pay and health benefits in 2018, I was a supporter. The people instrumental in my growth in high school deserved the world as far as I was concerned. Recently, with the passage of Senate Bill 11, outlawing the act of striking for public employees, now going on strike is the ground for our teachers to be terminated. How dare our representatives retaliate against them like this? As a future teacher, how am I supposed to know when our elected officials feel to tell me I'm not worth a livable wage or satisfactory health benefits? How am I supposed to feel when legislators are punishing teachers for wanting a few extra $1,000 a year, and yet we're about to cut income taxes in a way that will immensely benefit the wealthy more than anybody else? How am I supposed to do my job if Senate Bill 558 passes and I'm no longer discuss divisive concepts in my classroom? Shakespeare is full of critiques on sexism, so how do I just pretend that sexism was a thing of the past and that women in my life don't get catcalled for walking down the street? I tell you that I'm not going to pretend that racism ended with the abolition of slavery and that my black and brown friends don't get slurred on their social media accounts. How am I supposed to sit quietly when my transgender students aren't allowed to play sports with their friends because of House Bill 3293? And with the Crown Act failing, I mean, it's still legal for my future students to get discriminated because of something because of their hair. And lastly, I graduated in a year and I just started looking for a job in 9 months. Do you think this makes any young people more inclined to stay? Do you think this makes any of my fellow teachers in training more inclined to stay? Why should we? Why would we try to make a place better that obviously isn't going to take care of us or our friends and families? That's been the case of many young people in West Virginia for years. We won't stay. There's a reason why young people have been leaving for so long until West Virginia starts doing better when elected representatives that value us in both words and action will continue to leave and our state's problems will persist. And until we elect them, we must complain and protest and fight for what we deserve for our representatives. David Lobb of Morgantown is a graduate student at West Virginia University. All right, now David has broke down a lot of good points in here, and it said like he's gonna be a listener of this show. Let's break this down. We always talk about voting with our feet. Remember, I talked about that a lot in the last hour. You will hear that term a lot on this broadcast. David mentioned there is no incentive based off his opinions of the legislation that has been passed and being proposed in the state of West Virginia of why it's just no incentive to stay. And I support his right in that because I believe that David Lobb and any citizen that feels that they're not being served by their government has to make some hard decisions. Either we lobby them, we ask them to do the right thing, we make them do the right thing. If they refuse to do the right thing, then we want to just pack our bags and go. Because they're not going to listen to us. It's no sense of us begging and pleading them to do what they're supposed to do. Because we're tired of just asking for things. We're tired of fighting for basic stuff. We got to make sure that we're taken care of. Because I look at this whole thing about divisive concepts, and I'm glad he said that because I want to research that for him. It's another bill I got to read. You're telling a teacher, this is one thing conservatives talked about a lot years ago, back in the early 2000s, about politicizing the classrooms, telling teachers what they can and can't teach, what material should be discussed in the classrooms, to where now we're taking away the teacher's power and the teacher's authority to teach what's best for their students to get this lesson. Now, I'm no fan of these cookie cutter curriculums. I understand that we have a basic skills test that puts everybody on the same level to make sure we all get what's going on. But what we have to think about is making sure that we get things that we want. Because rural needs, inner city needs, suburban needs, affluent community, poor community, blue collar community, white collar community, broken family community, Sandra loving community. We have so many different communities that are out here now that everybody has different needs. And we're still trying to put everybody on the same page, which basic things like math, I think we all didn't know math. There's no way around math. You know, basic science, basic history, but we got to make sure that these students are able to compete in a global marketplace. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to education, is making sure these students are prepared, because we have so many people from overseas, especially third world countries, that want to come to the United States because they see the quality of life that we have. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But it's damn sure better than some of those other countries. In some countries, you can't even criticize the government. A show like this could not exist because why? The government owns the airwaves over there. The government won't even let you go on the internet and do something. They will tell you what you can and can't look on the internet. The government has so many things. There's still people under lockdowns, something what we had last year, but they were worse. You could not leave the house without a pass. And we're over here crying about first world problems. This is why some people in other countries look at us and laugh. Now, I'm not saying that some of these social issues, that the activists that we're all fighting are invalid, that they're trivial, and that they're petty. I am not saying that at all. But what I am saying is we have to start thinking globally, because we have so many people from overseas that are coming over here that want to be a part of the American action. And if they're not part of the American action, then what's going to happen? That's one thing that we have to start thinking about. So when I look at what David Laub said, and he wrote an excellent piece, David broke it down and said, look, what is the incentive for me to say this is where I see a lot of, especially in inner city communities, where people feel that, oh, you should see it help clean up the hood, help fix the hood. But the hood is not good to me. If the trailer park is not good to me, it was a pit on me when I was growing up. The schools were terrible. There were no resources. And it's like the community did not care about itself. I talk to a lot of people that come from these distressed communities that can't wait once it's time for them to leave. They get the hell on. It's like, don't stand in their way of doing. You may get tackled like you on the football field. So what has to start happening is you have to start creating better communities that make people want to come back. Communities where people felt they belong, they want to come back, open a business, buy their home, raise their family here, and they're going to keep it going. But a lot of these communities that were not good to people, they leave. That's part of the reason why you had gentrification. People say, oh, they shouldn't love the west side of Atlanta. The west side of Atlanta used to be terrible back in the day. You can't blame folks when they got stuff together, they got the hell on. They went to the suburbs and got their money. It was like the projects. The projects was a place of despair. Oh, you shouldn't have left the projects. Why? You shouldn't have left the trailer park. Why? So much domestic violence and drug use goes on in those trailer parks, it make your head spin when you look at what happens back there. You're saying that somebody should stay over there? We have to start thinking about things beyond our front porch. We have to start thinking about things beyond our bedrooms, beyond our visionary space. We have to think on a larger scale. Because I know people that how he wrote this, there are people say, I would never live in the city of Atlanta, I would never live in the suburbs, I would never live in Georgia, I would never live up north. And they have that right. And I support that right because people should live where they feel they belong. They feel they can be a contributing member of society. They feel that their opinion is better. They are valued. And wherever communities or state or country they want to go to, I support them in that right because they are doing what's best for them and their livelihoods. End of. And David, I'm glad he's becoming a teacher. I'm glad that he's finally figured out what he wants to do with himself, and I'm glad that he's putting himself in position, and he's questioning some things like, hey, I'm about to give my life to public service. And anybody that gives their life to public service, I've done public service a lot through the nonprofits I started, through things I'm doing now. Public service is a very big commitment. Whether you're teaching, whether you're going to law enforcement, whether you've been a 911 dispatcher, working for the post office, working for all the public works, utilities and things like that, things where you're not gonna make the money, but it has to be something that you feel very rewarded for doing. We don't value those employees. See, this is beyond a West Virginia issue. It is sad that we expect teachers to come out of their pockets to buy supplies for needy students, and these teachers are in need of themselves. It is a shame and distasteful what we do with public education. And that's why we as a people, we as young people must take control of our public facilities in these communities. See, I don't want to wait on government. I don't want to wait for them. I don't want to wait for them to figure it out because my community is not at a high list of things to get done. And once you realize that, we have to govern ourselves accordingly. Because once you govern yourself accordingly, then you know what to do. Neighborhoods are not great because the government makes them great. Neighborhoods are great because the people make them great. Everybody shares a common agenda. Everybody may have different ways of how they want to get it done. They may not like each other, but they're going to be fighting for the same thing. Some of these communities, they have everything together. It ain't like they all get along and they all hold hands and sing look for the union label. There's a lot of infighting that goes on. That happens in the public space. That happens in the public sector because we're dealing with people, we're dealing with so many attitudes, we're dealing with so many personalities because that's what we're seeing out here. So when we look at legislation, we have to ask ourselves, is it pushing us as a community forward? Is it pushing us backwards? Is it a lateral move? What is this doing? And why are we not getting legislation that is not benefiting us? That's why we have to supervise these elected officials, just like I said earlier in this broadcast. Because when you look at their records, they can't run from that because that is their record. Now, they can run from public opinion, they can run from beliefs and opinions and all that, but when you hold them to that record,
It's a whole new ball game. A bigger ball game and a bigger platform. See, they don't like it when we talk about that record. They ready for us to talk about everything else but that record. But I talk about the record. See, I don't have to get down to who you're sleeping with and what you look like and how you dress and how you dance and how you smell. I don't care about all of that. That's personal. Because you may smell bad, but that's probably think you smell like a rose. And that is them and your prerogative. I don't get into that. But I focus on what are you doing in the public square for the people that you was elected to serve. That once we stay on that record, they can't get around that. I can't stand my councilwoman in Atlanta. I sure can't, but see, I focus on her record. Yeah, I think she's a bitch, and I have no problem saying that. But see, I cannot say that on a political campaign because see, then that becomes that's my opinion. I'm being biased. I'm being whatever. But when I talk about her record, oh, see, now you can't fight those facts because everybody can see that. Now, people that had my lived experiences through what I dealt with that person, but they can see all these public documents and all these public records. Now, that is in the public domain. Now, you may have had a great experience with her. She may love you dearly. You may like the ground she walk on. But me, on the other hand, I didn't have that experience. And I don't take that away from anybody who has a good experience. One thing I always say, everybody didn't have that experience. Everybody doesn't share that. But I'm glad that you're getting something out of that. I'm glad that it's working out for you. And I don't take away from your thing. I just hope that it continues. And I hope that you are benefiting from that. And you're not being a lackey, a surrogate, or a puppet. That you are getting things that benefits you and your tribe and your community. That is all that matters when it comes to this. I don't have to be best friends with these people. We don't have to get along. We don't have to like each other. But let's get things done for the people. That's all I ask for. Let's get things done for the people. So it's 25 after the top of the hour, 25 after the top of the hour. I told you we're getting back on track around here. So you're listening, this is Saturday, April 3rd, 2021. You're listening to We the People, the podcast. I am Dominic Huff. You are listening to Fusion Radio and your local syndicated partners. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. back. Welcome back to We the People, the podcast, here on Fusion Radio and your local syndicated partners. It is about 24 for the top of the hour, 24 before the top of the hour here on Saturday, April the 3rd, 2021. Just zooming through this show today. I told you we getting through it. Glad you enjoyed it. Glad you're sitting here with us to spend a lot of time talking about people just reading, critical thinking, and just looking at making decisions that are best for them in regards to their living situations and their political decisions, and making sure you're getting served by your government. That's all I ask. It's making sure that you get served by your government. Now we had a Gallup poll about Generation Z and millennials, and I'm sure you all will enjoy this one. 4 things that Generation Z and millennials expect from their workplaces. So did you know that we, as we are the millennials, Generation Z, make up 46% of the full-time U.S. workforce? Told you, we're becoming number one. And that's why shows like this have to exist, because we have to make sure that we're really letting people know where our power lies at and what we need to start doing. Let's go over these 4 things. And I want to see if you agree with them or not, and I'm going to share my commentary as well. So this is what many generations look for. You know, above all, Generation Z and millennials want an employer who cares about their well-being. The year 2020 brought employee well-being to the foreground. If the people in your organization aren't healthy, physically and emotionally, your organization isn't healthy either. But an organization stance on employee well-being has been a major factor of where people want to work and how they feel about their current employer. In fact, it was a top 3 issue for every generational cohort before COVID-19. Generation Z want their leaders to be ethical, and millennials. Let's talk about this for a minute. Why do you work where you work at? What motivates you to take the job that you have, or if you're self-employed, to start the business that you started and you're serving the clientele that you're serving, or the nonprofit that you have founded, or the public sector job that you have? Why did you take that job? Think long and hard. And if you've been there longer than 3 years, 3 years is now pretty much seasoned now, because back in the day it used to be 5 to 7, but now it's 3 years because millennials have such a high turnover. Why are you staying there? Now, for some of you, it could be closest to home. A lot of people love working close to home, to where they don't have a long commute. That's something they value, and that's more important than the salary they're making, because they think they can make it up through Ubering or a part-time job. For some of you, you may look at upward mobility. You may look at, is there a possibility for me to move up through this company? For others, it may be the culture of the company. It may be a very casual company. You come dressed in your sandals and your shorts, or it may be a very conservative company. You got to come suited and booted. Or it may be just the fact that, you like what the company stands for. You like their reputation, or you like the salary you're making, you like the challenge and the rigor that comes with it. There's a variety of reasons why we work where we work at. So when you couple that all together, it goes into it like, do they care about me? Now, back in the old days, a lot of the old timers would say, good job, good benefits, good hours. Now, a lot of people love them good benefits, but guess what? You was paying for those good benefits out of your check. They'd tell you that was kind of hidden in there. That's why the salary was this, but the benefit package was that. What they did, basically, you was paying for that unknowingly with a lower salary. They took what they would have gave you and put that into the package. That's a little fraud they don't tell you about. But I want to tell you that little dirty little secret. That's why before the Obamacare came out here, and we go back and forth on that, is why we're in that position of sometimes, I remember back in the day in the early 2000s, I used to buy my own insurance. It was cheaper for me to get my own insurance through a private carrier than for me to join with the companies I worked for. Now, some people may have felt otherwise. Some people worked with a place where the insurance was really good. So a lot of people looked for that insurance. They knew they had children. They knew they had health issues that they had come from. They had asthma or diabetes or blood pressure or whatever they had. They knew they needed to make sure they had that care to help them, subsidize those health care costs. I understand health care can put you in poverty if you're not careful with, the element that you have. Also, what I think about well-being is the work schedule. Are they working me to the grade? Because a lot of times I have told people these jobs are killing you. I understand we got to work, we got to eat, the light bills got to be paid, the credit cards, that car. I understand living costs. And you don't have to give me that lecture or drill that in my head. You know, and depending on where you live, the cost of living is going up. And some of you all, your commutes are getting longer and longer because you're really trying to find a good place to live at. So what I'm looking at now is, okay, why do I work where I work at? And do they care about my well-being? Do I have flexible scheduling? Do they have programs outside of quote-unquote PO care? Shout out to my boy Scott. He used to call it PO care. He's always say all the time, he was like, you know, that's not to get health care when you give me pills all the time. If you just make me pop a pill, pop a pill, pop a pill, how do I know this is really helping me out? Because pills don't necessarily solve every problem. They don't. But what we have to start doing is, do they help me with my exercising? Are they helping with my health care? Are they helping with, mental health? Because a lot of people now want the health care for these jobs. They're not healthcare, mental care. I see more people that say, I need somebody I can pay for a therapist. And I'm glad to hear that we're having this conversation with this stuff, because so many people got mental health issues now, and they look like they're trying to recover from their childhood, whether they were bullied growing up, they had a bad family, or they're just dealing with anxiety, or they got a bad relationship. So a lot of young people want to know, are you willing to help me pay for my mental health care? And that is important because you want to make sure that your employees are healthy and whole when they come to work. Because you don't want them slapping on your employees, slapping on your customers, or always out because they're sick. So that well-being factor is always, everybody wants to know that they care. And it goes back to the employee morale. And I was real big on that when I used to be a manager or a supervisor was, do you care about the people? Because people want to hear thank you. Good job. And they want to hear it sincerely and that you appreciate the work that they do, because as a manager, you have to get work done to other people. You can't do 9 jobs at one time. You can try, but you can't. Now, I understand there's multitasking and there's cross-training. I forgot what they call it now. I'm old school. It used to be cross-training back in the day when you knew how to work in different areas of a department or a company to where you can go where needed based off of what needed to be done. And I thought that was really good, because that way we had a workforce that could shift based off the demands of what we're going. If somebody was sick, or nowadays we got a COVID outbreak, or people were exposed, they got to stay home and quarantine and stuff. Cross-training is making a comeback. We got away from that. Now we're bringing that back. So we're looking at now, does this company take care of me? Besides the fact that we can be loyal to this company, but the old saying goes, and I see this on memes on social media, you can give your all to that company, but guess what? By the time you die, get sick, they got your job posted on a job board while your body's on its way to the coroner's office at the county. So does that company really care about you? Do they tell you happy birthday? Do they give you a cake? Do they give you a day off? Do they give you time off with pay? Do they give you got to give them vacations. Vacation pay is a week in the streets. So these are questions we have to ask ourselves. What are we getting from these businesses? Then you want your leaders to be ethical. 2020 was a record-breaking year for SEC fines and fees related to corporations, combined with high-profile fraud scandals of recent years. These generations have grown up watching a parade of breaking news of unethical behaviors. Without question, ethical standards are toxic to organizational health and success, and it's not just about compliance or public relations issues anymore. Employees themselves want more than the legal minimum or executive platitudes. They expect bold actions to address moral spots. Now, you may see a lot of companies, especially government agencies, that have the fraud hotline. You may see it, report fraud, report waste, report ethics, report abuse, report this. It's a little number you dial. Most times a recorded hotline, and you leave a message, you give them a description, you can shoot an email, and you can let them know what's going on. People we want more than just that now. We want to know that something is going to happen. We want to make sure that we are taking care of our customers. Now, you may remember on a couple of the old sitcoms in the late 90s, really go back to the 80s. Take this back to the 80s. I remember watching the episode 227 recently on YouTube, where I think it was season 2, Lester, those of y'all that know 227, Hal Williams and Virginia King and Marta Gibbs, where they was discussing this is back when the apartheid stuff was really big in South Africa. And Lester's company had a chance to work with a company that was funding apartheid. He didn't know that till Brenda pointed that out. Yes, that's the quote-unquote woke culture for 1986 back then. So during that time, everybody was happy. Oh, we finally getting out this apartment. We gonna get us a house. We're moving, and Lester took them to a nice part. I think they was in a suburb of Maryland, and and they was really thinking about that company. And Lester was saying, this is the big break we need for this company. This company can really now we can become multinational. We can hire more people. It can open up more doors, and we can really make a lot of things happen. But the company was doing some unethical things, and Brenda and even the founder, and even Lester kind of had issues with it. In the end of the episode, he walked away from that deal. He said, "Yeah, I want to give y'all the best, but not at the expense of other people." And we saw that spill over to a different world. They talked about that when you had a company that was part to destructing the rainforest. Remember, the rainforest was a real big issue back in the day. So we're looking at these issues now and saying, okay, these are the things that we want to make sure that companies are being good stewards. Because nobody wants to work for a controversial company or a crazy company where things are just going out of hand and going haywire. And it's even bigger than that because you got to think, we was kids when Captain Planet was on A Different World 227. Back when Nickelodeon had the big help. You remember and then they did all the commercials like, turn off the light and all that type of stuff and use less water and put your helmet on and smoking ain't cool, don't be a fool and all this type of stuff. We grew up with that. So now those values are ingrained in our psyche to say, okay, this is what we're expecting now. So by us expecting that, we want companies to actually practice what they preach. And that is expected where, okay, practice what you preach. Stop lecturing, stop doing what you're going to do. I'm going to practice what you preach. And millennials will quit jobs because the company is not practicing what they preach. Now, have you ever quit a job because people were not practicing what they preach? Think about that for a minute. Older millennials want open, transparent leaders. I guess I'm considered an older millennial. I was born in 1982 and I got a birthday next week. And, the millennial generation is unique in its desire for leaders who are open and transparent. This is because many of them entered the workforce in the 2008 financial crisis, and the result in part because the subprime mortgages bought to make them look much smaller than they were. Millennials have received mixed messages about a fundamentally strong economy, even though the bottom was falling out, and some of them was duped into easy with burdens of student loans they're still paying off more than a decade later. As a result, millennials in their 30s have more of a trust but verified approach to corporate positivity. If you have a lot of millennials in your organizations, they want more facts, data, and third-party validation to feel confident in your leadership. Notably, this is one area in which corporate leaders have excelled in during the COVID-19 pandemic. Employee engagement rose in the United States over the past years, as CEOs from the world's largest corporations noted that increased communications and town hall meetings have been well received. Now, I ask fellow managers, how often are you having staff meetings? Do you have your staff meetings just to fuss and bicker and moan? Or do you have staff meetings to keep people abreast? Because I always believe if I know, you're going to know. That's how I operate my journalism. My little catchphrase is, now you know. So now I found out, now I'm going to tell you all what's going on with the city. Now you take this information, you go tell people, and now the information's out there. Because I always believe in, we got to put the information out there. Let people do what they want to. They don't want to hear, they don't want to see. That's not on you. At the end of the day, we did our job by putting it out there. And that's the same thing we have to look at when it comes to these corporate environments. When it comes to these corporate environments, we have to make sure we're putting the information out there to where people feel like they're a part of it. Do you feel like you belong at the job that you work at? Do you feel like that you matter? Do you feel like that you're an integral part of the team and that you can speak up and contribute more than just come to work, do what you're told, shut up, go to lunch, come back, do what you're told, shut up, go home, go to sleep, go to eat, go to bed, then repeat. This generation is not the whole drone generation. And I'm not making light or being abrasive to our elders, because I understand that every generation had different priorities and values. And I'm sure the generations come behind us will have different priorities and values. So it's up to us to kind of raise the bars. I remember a lot of times, the previous generations, that we had to deal with racism, we had to deal with sexism, we had to really deal with companies that were still playing the good old boys club. So I get that fact to say, hey, we had to deal with that to make sure we could get in the door. We had to make sure that even if we was doing our own thing, that we had the opportunity. We got this internet and all this technology from smartphones and iPhones and laptops and Wi-Fi and all this stuff is online. We have so much at our disposal. We're the most engaged generation ever. We don't realize the power that we have in our hands. You can find anything you want to just Googling and researching and stuff. You can be inquisitive and you get that knowledge satisfied. What the cool kids say, what a great time to be alive. So if you're expecting more communication from your leaders, leaders should communicate as much as they can without compromising any legal, ethical, or contractual obligations that can put other things in peril. You can't tell everybody everything. Even as a CEO of a company, you can't tell people that the contracts of what people are paying for these things. You got to keep some things that are what I call trade secrets. You're not going to tell everybody everything, but you should at least communicate with people what's going on. If there's a new policy or a new change that's going down, then communicate that with your staff. Explain it to them versus writing a memo. Now, I'm all for it, and people know me. I can't stand redundant meetings because I read. So you can write me an email and I'll read it. I don't care if it's 5, 6 pages. I want to read it if it's something that you feel that we need to explain to do it. Because some people get to meeting after 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 meeting. So you got all these meetings going on. Guess what? People stop showing up. People start checking out because they feel the meetings are a waste of time. Then you can't get mad when people don't come anymore. Because they see that once you get known for having bullshit ass meetings, nobody's going to come to your meetings. They're not. So what you have to do is be strategic in how you communicate and how you use your meetings. That way you get the most out of everything that you're doing. There you go. That's why I put this stuff out there. Because this stuff is very important because without even Gallup doing a survey, a lot of this stuff to me is common sense. But sometimes we get to see it in writing and say, okay, I'm not crazy. This is really going somewhere. And the last part, they want a diverse and inclusive workplace. The woke generation, and this is one of the good attributes to them. They do have some good attributes now, people. Now, I know. But there are some good attributes that we should factor in with being woke. And this is about the commitment to diversity and the commitment to inclusion. Because for the longest, if you was a white male or a white person, or in some cases a black woman with these black organizations, nobody did not want to hear what the fuck you had to say. So we want companies that are committed to diversity more than just making the Negro over the vice president of diversity. I cannot stand that when I see that. You put the black person over diversity or human resources. You don't put the black person over marketing, you don't put the black person over operations, you throw the black person over there, you throw the woman over there with community relations. And everybody, all the white men get everything else. Or in the case of the black organization, the black guy, we're security. We're the parliamentarian. We pretty much have no power. So that's why we had to do serious diversity and serious inclusion more than just saying we are committed. We're trying. We're going through sensitivity training. We celebrate Kwanzaa here at the office. I don't give two shits about you celebrating Kwanzaa here at the office. Why don't you do something such as putting more money in my pocket? Give me an opportunity to move up in the company. Won't you do that? Save your Kwanzaa celebrations, save your Hanukkah celebrations, save your Juneteenth celebrations, save your Happy Cabbage Day celebrations. Do something beyond symbolism. See, what's happening is we have gotten lulled to sleep by all that symbolism shit. And that needs to stop because they know what they like to do is put all these fancy objects. I care, I feel, I'm concerned, I feel your pain, give me a hug. We're all singing and happy and we're colored, but they want to do all this type of stuff, but nothing's happening. Goes back to what I talked about those bullshit politicians earlier. Because see, I told you, I already knew what you said. There he go. I knew that was coming up. That's right, that was coming up. Because you see how I connected the dots. You see how this made all that relevant. So you probably wish you had me for your political science and your government professor than the cornball that you probably had that probably told you stuff that made no sense. See, now we're connecting the dots. Everything goes together. Because I want you to really think about this and making sure that you are being served. Your tribe is being served and your family and your community is being served. All this other symbolism stuff I don't care about. It's a bunch of crap and they will waste your time. Stay focused. Keep your eye on the goal. Because if you don't, they will exploit every second of it. Let's not be fooled by words. Let's not be fooled by pretty pictures. Let's not be fooled by empty promises. Let's not be fooled by platitudes. Let's be impressed with actions, executions, results, solutions, and remedies. Let's be impressed by that. And I can't believe this. The clock just ran away from me. I told you I started late, but I got us caught back up. You thought I could do it, didn't you? Oh, he ain't gonna be able to do it all. I know what I'm doing. I'm a broadcast professional. Well, folks, it's been a good Saturday. Man, we're gonna be here next time. We'll be here next Saturday and Saturday after that and Saturday after that till they get tired of us. Because you know, after a while, you get too much truth. I get told that I offended people and I bothered people, and I have to go. But we're going to keep doing it anyway until the message gets out there, because I want you to get empowered. I am Dominic Huff. If you have any questions or concerns or even complaints, please email me at office@10thamendmentmedia.com. That's office@10thamendmentmedia.com, and 10th is spelled out. You're listening to We the People, the podcast here on Fusion Radio. I am Dominic Huff. This was Saturday, April 3rd, 2021, Easter weekend. For those who are celebrating Easter, happy Easter. And I will talk to you next week.